Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're gonna talk about how air detection really works, and detection affects how many of the enemy planes that are visible to you. That matters because you can only engage the enemy with 3 times as many fighters as the enemy has planes that are visible to you. And I think we need to boil this down a little bit so it's comprehensible. Let's take an example. If you have 100 enemy fighters that are visible to you, a maximum of 300 of your own fighters can engage them. So let's say the enemy has 400 fighters in a zone. You have an air detection of 50%, then you can only see 200 fighters. 200 fighters are visible to you, and you can only attack with 3 times as many fighters as the enemy has visible planes. So if the enemy has 200 visible fighters of those 400 fighters, you can only engage with 600 of your own fighters. So yes, the first thing to take away from this is that this matters more when you have more fighters than the enemy has. It still matters, but it matters more when you have more fighters. So you have more planes that are able to actually engage your enemy. And I just made a spreadsheet so I can show you up here that it matters and will flatten out depending on how high detection you have, how many actually of your own planes that you can actually get into the fight. And as I said, another takeaway from this is that max detection is more important if the enemy has fewer planes. If you have 3,000 planes and the enemy has 3,000 planes in an air zone, you can have 33% in detection. Because if you remember, 33% in detection gives 1,000 visible planes. And you can attack with 3 times the planes that are visible. So if you have 33% detection, you will attack with all your 3,000 planes. So if you're equal, you can have 33% in detection, it will still be fine. As long as there's no weather or other stuff that will be negative for you, and you will have night at least, even if you have perfect weather all day long. So this will affect, and we'll talk about night and weather a little bit later. But that's a good takeaway, that it mostly matters, or matters absolutely most, if you have more planes than the enemy. And you won't have more planes, you will want to actually engage them and kill them as much as you can. And we're gonna do some testing now, but first I just want to say most of you watching are not yet subscribers, so please subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff with the ring bell and everything like that. We release one new guide every Monday. We also release one extra guide every second Thursday for our Patreons, our amazing Patreons, and we have a huge archive both on YouTube and on Patreon. So please subscribe if you want, become a Patreon, and you will see even more of us if you for some reason would like that. And yeah, let's continue with the guide. And now we're gonna look at some testing I did, and I think this is really interesting. We have an air zone here with 400 German fighters versus 100 French fighters, and we have the same air efficiency. The difference is the numbers in air and our air detection. We have more active airplanes in the region, and we also control some territories, so we have better air detection than the enemy has. The enemy has only 2%. So you would think, just looking at this, that the French will get decimated right now, because we have 4 times the plane. And if we just roll this, 1 loss on the French side, nothing is happening. Nothing's still happening. Someone should be dead. 1 more there, 1 more, 2 on the German side, and yeah, 1 more there. And if we look at the details, we actually have lost more fighters than the enemy. And why is this? Oh, went to the wrong air zone. And this is really interesting. This comes down to air detection. If you remember the math here, we have 12% air detection, which means, right now at least, which means that we can see 12 enemy planes, and we can engage 36 enemy planes. The enemy has 3% in air detection, but he's looking at 400 planes. So the enemy can see 12 planes right now and engage 36 planes. So right now we can engage exactly the same amount of planes as each other in this scenario. And if you look here, our goes down more. We go down to 10. If we have 10 versus 3, 10 versus 2, we can see 10 planes, he can see 8 planes. Yeah, so we can see 10 planes and he can see 8 planes right now. Now we have more equal, we have better air detection. We can see 10 planes engage 30, he can see 8 planes engage 8, 16, 24. So a little bit less, and the comparison is more equal. But still, you should go out here and think we have better stats everywhere, we should win this. We don't, since how the system works. So this is extremely interesting and very important to take with you. If the enemy has less planes, you need better air detection, because that's how the math works. If it's realistic or not, I won't even get into. You can get into that in the comment section, but yeah, this is how it works. So I think we've established a little bit at least how this actually works and affects you in game. And if we look here, there's a couple of things that actually affect how much detection you get. The first one is from controlled territory. That's a maximum of 10% modifier. That's not huge. It could make a difference early game, but it's not huge. Always good, but I wouldn't take territory just to get air detection. You take territory for other purposes. But yeah, it's good to have that extra 10% if you get up even to those numbers. The second thing is something I think most people love but doesn't really know what it does. And now you do. It gives you air detections, and radar can give you a maximum of 50 in air detection. It doesn't matter if you just put out 500 radars around an air zone. You can get 50% in more detection, and that's the cap. The biggest thing, and I'm not sure if people know this, the biggest thing is how many active airplanes you have in the region. That can give you another 80% in air detection. And you gain 80% with 3,000 fighters, which means that 300 fighters give you 8% extra in detection. So if we need to shut out AI here so they don't run away. Let's look. So here we get 400 and we get 10%, and I think we have some bonuses here from Doctrines. We'll get into that later. But these are the three things that gives you territory, radars in range, and the biggest one, active airplanes, up to 80%. And the negative that comes in here is night and bad weather. And as I said, we can get more air detection. We have centralized control here, giving you 10% extra. So if you look here, we have 9.9 now. And if we go for centralized control, it's 11.8 at night at least. We'll get somewhere without bad weather. 9.9, 10.8. So that gives an extra 10%. As you saw here, we had fighter detection plus 15%. So the strategic destruction gives you 10%. You can get 15% here, and the maximum is fighter detection 20% extra down here with dispersed fighting. So these are the ways to gain some extra detection from airplanes in the region. The thing is, you can only go up to 80%, so it doesn't move the cap, but it gives you can come up to the cap much faster, so we can have fewer planes to get up to that 80% cap. So it's really good to have those kind of doctrines early on, and especially gaining centralized control, even with the mission efficiency, which makes more planes in there that can actually detect something. And the next thing is weather and night. As you saw here, weather and night gives you a malus. Night gives you minus 20%, I believe, and the bad weather, depending on how bad the weather it is. So here we get a 0.65. So the math works like this. You add up all the positives you have in the upper side, and you take them times the reduction down there, so 0.75. Which means that it's always good to have more detection than 100. You're not aiming for 100. Go as high as you can with detection when you need it, and then you will have a lot of malices, but hopefully you will have great detections anyway. But you don't really need 100% detection most of the time. This, as I said in the beginning, depends on how many enemies you're actually fighting. So let us just look at the test with more fighters and how detection actually work here. If we throw them in here. We have less efficiency here, so let's get the same efficiency. We should kill almost the same, and as you see, we kill almost the same. There, we get aces, but otherwise, it should be basically the same. We have the same stats in the most of the area. So let's move them over here and get more efficiency, not efficiency, detection for Germany, since Germany has radars in that region. So let's just go over here and see what happens when they fight over here. We have the same numbers, but we have less air detection for the French right now. Let's see if that makes any difference in the outcome here. And you see they are going along quite well. Germany had a little bit for some reason, not really sure why. Could be just a coincidence. But still, doesn't matter that much that we're lacking in air efficiency, air detection. We have 50% versus 90%, and still we're killing almost exactly the same. Lagging a little bit behind, but that could just be aces that has shown up, making the difference. So detection is not really as important if you have bigger fleets or equal fleets fighting, since you will find the planes you need to find to be able to fight. So you can go as low as 33% in air detection in this battle. Because if you see 33% of your enemy, which in this case would be 600, you can fight with 3 times more than that, which is 1800, and then you're fine. If you go lower than 33%, then you will start lacking in this battle. But that's something to take with you. You don't want to have low air detection, because yeah, if you might go too low because of the weather, because you're fighting in over enemy territory, you can't see well, and other things. But yeah, in this kind of battle, when you have an equal setting going under 33%, that's when it hurts you. Everything else is just fine. And I also want to throw in, if you have escorting fighters, they are fully visible always. If you have planes on close air support, they are twice as visible as other things. And this is really important. Planes on port strike are 10 times more visible than other planes. And that's something you also have to keep in mind. And I just want to mention, because I'm pretty sure I will get the question, Recon planes doesn't give you any detection at all, or it gives detection as any other fighter would give detection, but it doesn't give more detection. That's an intelligence thing, and we'll probably do a guide about it later on. And the general takeaway from this guide is that radar is amazing, since it gets you detection and gives you higher detection. Is pretty cheap. When you have a lot of planes, so the planes themselves gives you the air detection you need. If you have 1800 or 3000, 4000 planes, a specific air zone and good efficiency, radar is less important, since you will get the detection you want anyway for the lot from the planes you have. And especially if you fight against equal opponents, detection is not really as important. You can go down, if you're exactly equal, down, as I said, to 33% and still fight everyone. But yeah, I would always go with radar, since you don't know, you don't have the time to actually min-max this. But it's good to know that it's not that important as you think. If you're going into the Eastern Front, you have a lot of fighters, you don't have radars, you want to go further in, they have radars, you will probably be just fine if you have 3000 fighters, because you get the air detection you need anyways. But yeah, that's all. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really love doing this, because air detection has haunted me for a while. I wanted to look into it, but I haven't had the time, and now I have. And I hope you find this as interesting as I do. So since I couldn't find anything more than the wiki, and the wiki was lacking, at least to my mind, because I didn't understand 100% how it works. Now I understand. Hopefully you understand. And with that, I just want to wish you a happy new year from all of us. Me, Badger, Victor, Petter, everyone involved in the Hygge gaming community. So happy new year, and I will see you in 2025 with probably more and new and amazing things coming your way. With that said, I will see you guys next time.